Welcome back, Queen, to another episode of The Creatress of Freedom. Oh, I'm so excited to have you here joining me today on this beautiful episode. If you are new, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's such an honor to have you join the community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for yourself. And if you are an OG, you know I love you. Welcome back. And thank you for tuning on in for today's episode. Today's episode is a really, really special episode. I'm already getting emotional. Throughout today's episode, I might need to pause a few times. It's taken me a month to record this episode because it's very dear to my heart. And I share today's episode with you because I know that I'm not alone. And I know that when we lose loved ones, it's really hard to cope knowing that they're not here in this lifetime with us anymore. And so today's episode is showing you a recent experience that I went through, but also an invitation for you to really build on your spirituality and your intuition and your meditation and your spiritual practices, because when we start to really tap into this part that we all have the ability to, everything just is amplified in our life in so many ways. And so today's episode I want to share with you is about my beautiful grandfather who passed over in December. The funeral was December. He passed over in November, but the funeral was right before I flew out to Greece. And you know, it's so interesting. I think he was definitely working with me on this because my flight for Greece was booked for the 12th of December. And 2 weeks prior to that, I did a flying trip back to Bendigo, and he was in hospital, and there was talk that he was not going to be coming out of hospital. And he kept asking me, as each day that I was sitting up at the hospital with him, he kept asking me, when do you leave to go to Greece? When do you leave to go to Greece? And I'd keep saying, you know, my flight's booked for the 12th of December, Pop. And he'd be like, okay. And I truly think that he was trying to like make it all work for me so that I didn't have to change all my plans, because I had flights booked, I had accommodation, you know, and I wasn't just doing a holiday to Greece. I was relocating my entire life and business. So it was a big deal. And he knew about all of that as well. And he was very, very supportive of me packing up my life and going to Greece. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get so emotional through this episode. And as we, you know, were discussing my trip to Greece, he was so happy for me. So happy. He was like, go and live your life. Like, go. And so I did. And a week before my flight was his funeral. And so I was a beautiful coffin bearer and was able to carry him out and was by his side as he crossed over to the other side. And it was so beautiful, you know. And I think a past version of me wouldn't have really understood that whole crossing over part. But knowing what I know now and knowing that I have the ability to be able to connect with my ancestors on the other side really helps that transition period. It really allows you to surrender and let go, because you know that you might not be seeing them again in this lifetime, but you know that you have the ability to be able to connect with them on the other side. And so they do say, that you shouldn't rush straight in after they've passed over, because it can actually, like, they can get stuck in the between the portals. And so we don't want to do that. So I haven't consciously made an effort to connect with him or anything like that. And I've just really tried to trust in the timing, trust in the process of he would come to me when I was ready for him to come to me. And that was literally what happened. So it's really interesting, because if you listen to my episode back in the things I discovered in Corfu, one of the lessons that was coming through around that was really about softening into the feminine, right? And softening into the feminine, a big lesson that kept coming through was that I had this belief system that I can't really soften into the feminine because I don't have a masculine in my life, right? In order for the feminine to really flow and be free and just go with the way of life, we ideally need to have a masculine figure or a masculine energy. And if we don't have that masculine figure in our life, then we do still need to keep showing up in the masculine. And I have a business, and I have clients that I have to look after, and I'm not in a relationship right now. So I have to step into the feminine and the masculine energy a lot, right? I would say it's 50-50 for me right now. And so this belief system that was coming up for me was really about that I can't drop into the feminine as much as I would like to, because I don't have a masculine figure in my life. And so it was really interesting to witness this belief that was really present for me. And yeah, it was really fascinating to observe that and work through that. And so anyway, this particular day, I was doing my morning rituals as I do my spiritual practices, and I dropped into meditation with like no intention of calling in him at all. I always set my intentions though with every spiritual practice, and I always say what my intention is for dropping in. And if I do need some guidance or some wisdom, I do say, I always call in my guides and my angels and my ancestors and all of those who walked before me to come into this space and to help me navigate whatever it is that I'm navigating, or if I want to ask questions and get guidance, whatever my intention is, I'm always very specific in what it is that I'm looking for. And so this particular day, there was nothing specific that I really wanted. It was just show me what it is that I need to hear today was my intention. I've got my journal here. So I want to share some things that I had actually written down from this particular day. And so I sat there and said, show me what it is that I need to hear today. And so I'm dropping into my meditation, and I feel his presence really close. So I always feel his presence around me, but this felt really, really intense. And so in he comes, and I could actually see him coming towards me. And he had, I have to laugh at what he had on because it's just so typical of my pop. He had just a white t-shirt on, it had a collar on it, and he had like white trackies on as well. And I'm just like, of course you're in bloody trackies. He was buried with trackies on as well, because it was just like an in-house joke. Everywhere he went, he always was in trackies. It could be 45 degrees outside and he would still be in trackies. I know he went fishing on his very last fishing trip with my brother and my dad, and it was ridiculously hot, and he was in trackies. And my brother was saying to me at the funeral that he kept saying to him, just take your trackies off, Pop. He's like, no, I'm all right, I'm all right. But anyway, they've got some photos, and my Pop looks terrible. My grandfather looks so terrible because he was so hot. He like literally was suffering from heat stroke. So when he came to me in my meditation with trackies on, I just laughed, honestly. But I also was bawling my eyes out because I've been waiting for this moment, right? I've been waiting for him to come into me. And it's been 5 months since he has crossed over. And so they say usually that they don't normally come to you within sort of around a 12-month period. But so I've also kind of found that a little bit interesting that he came so soon as opposed to the 12-month period. So he comes in and he's like, "G'day, Annie," just in the tone that he says. And I've just got tears streaming down my cheeks. I'm just so happy to see him. I'm so grateful for my ability to be able to connect with him on this other side, knowing that, yes, he might not be here in this human life experience that I'm living, but I'm living this human life experience, and he's still very much here with me in this present moment. And so he just comes into the space, and I'm just bawling my eyes out, like pretty much like I am right now. And I tried to get a Pop, and it came out amongst all of the snot and the tears and everything that was going on. And I remember just saying to him, "Why now? Why now? Like, why are you showing up now? Like, why?" And he said to me, "Well, you've been saying that you've been missing the masculine in your life. And so that's why I'm here. Because I also know that you're not quite ready for your king yet. And so while you wait for him, I'm going to be that masculine figure in your life. So you don't have to worry about not having the masculine. I'm here whenever you need me to be, and I will be that masculine figure." And so I'm just bawling my eyes out even more through this entire thing. And if you heard my episode on, like I was talking before, about Corfu, you will have heard me say that was like a really big lesson that was coming through for me. And I was and am really starting to miss the masculine presence in my life. It's been, I was with Troy for 7 solid years, and then we separated from the May through to the January. Then we got back together, and we were kind of on and off pretty much for probably the best part of 12 months, I would say. It was, on for 3 months and then off for 2 months and then on for 3. But, I really haven't had that masculine presence in my life for probably since 2000 and I would say early 2023. Yeah, early 2023. And I also don't have a relationship with my father either. So I don't have that presence in my life. And I also don't have my brother, which would have been, essentially another masculine figure. I don't have that either. And so I really have been craving this masculine energy and presence in my life. And so, like I said to you, there was a part of me that really believed that I couldn't soften into my feminine without this masculine presence. And, whilst I'm open to my king coming into my space, and again, if you've listened to previous episodes, you will have heard that there's been beautiful men that have come into my world that, there is a deep attraction to emotionally, physically, and spiritually, like a connection that I've never felt before. But I also know that our timing is not right either. And so learning to trust and surrender in that process can be quite challenging. And so as we're having this beautiful conversation of him saying, that he's going to be that masculine presence for me, like I'm just bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, couldn't be any more divine timing, like honestly. And he says to me, what are you bloody crying for? Which is exactly what my pop would say, and how he says it, honestly. And I just said, I'm just really happy that, that you're here, and, I've been waiting for this moment for us to connect. I've got other ancestors that have passed over that come to me. And so this is such a new and unusual experience because he's so newly crossed over. My other angels, ancestors that come to me, they passed like a very long time ago. So, it was before I was even into any of the spiritual side of things or anything like that. And so, yeah, just being this version that I am right now and having him come in was incredible. Anyway, so then I'm having a conversation with my other ancestors as well at this stage. And then, I say to my other ancestors, I would like to continue and have some more questions with Pop. And they were like, yeah, no worries. So kind of move into this next scene, and he's sitting at the riverbank, which is exactly what he always loved to do. Fishing was like his thing. He just was always fishing, always loved it. So he's sitting up at the river, and he's got this blue esky that's beside him, and he's in his bluey singlet, and he's in his shorts, and he's got his thongs on as well, and he's fishing. And I said to him, oh, you've got Mia beside you. And so Mia is their little dog, so Mia passed away. They had to put her down. It was their little dog. I don't even know how many years ago it was now. It was a while ago though. And he loved Mia. And so seeing him, with Mia sitting beside him was just, I was like, of course, of course. And I was really happy for him to have Mia sitting beside him as well. Oh, give me a second. And so we were just continuing our conversation. He asked me how I've been, and I say, yeah, I'm good. And how are you? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. Which is exactly, like, it just is crazy how they come to you and how they're still just them. Like, it's incredible. Anyway, and I said to him, I have a question for you. And he was like, yeah. And so right before he passed over, there was this, it was like he was scared. I don't know. It was interesting to watch. So the nurse was standing in front of him holding his hand, and you could see the resistance. You could see him really wanting to, like, his body wanting to shut down and just cross over. But you could also see the confusion that he was experiencing. And it was really interesting to witness what was happening for him. And I thought, like, it was almost like he was scared, is kind of the impression that I got. He was scared. It was like he was unsure of this feeling. It was almost like he was in two dimensions at the exact same time. And like witnessing it was so fascinating. And the nurse said to him, like, Roy, it's time. Like, you can let go. Like, stop fighting it. Your family's all here. Everyone's given you permission to pass over. And it's time. It's time. And he looked over her shoulder as if someone was there. It was there was no one there, but it was the most interesting situation, and just to observe and witness what was happening. And she said, is there someone there, Roy? And he just was confused by whoever was on his side or over her shoulder. And she said, sometimes they have like members that have already crossed over come to collect them, and they come and they welcome them. They're like, it's okay, like we're here, we can take you over, like let's go. And she said sometimes that happens and they can see them but nobody else can. And so I said to him, when you were about to cross over, you were looking over Emma's shoulder as if there was someone there. Was there someone there? And he laughs and rubs his nose. And he's like, yeah, there was. And I said, who was it? And he said it was bloody Uncle Cecil, which is his brother, and his brother had passed away. And he said, he said to me, I've got it written here in my journal because it's literally to a T is exactly how he would say, couldn't bloody believe me eyes, Annie. I thought, what in the devil is he doing here? It can't be. But he told me that he was here to come and get me. And he just was pissing himself laughing the entire time. And I was like, that does not surprise me. Like, so that's who was there over his shoulder. And I could imagine how confusing that must be to know that you're about to cross over, also be seeing someone that you already know has crossed over but is very much like in your mind's eye, very much present and there in the physical moment. So yeah, it was such a beautiful conversation that we were able to have. And I just told him, that I really missed him. And he said, I know you do. And then we talked a little bit about Nan, which is his wife. And he said, that he's been watching her. And, he said to me, I actually thought she'd be happy that I'm not here anymore, not causing her any more shit. But I can see that she's sad. I said, yeah, she is sad. He said, she'll be okay. And I was like, yeah, I know she will be. And yeah, so we're just having this beautiful conversation. There's a lot of silence in between our conversation. And then he said to me, all right, Annie, I better go and sort my dinner out, which is just, it's just so typical of him. I'm like, what are you having for dinner, Pop? And he's like, bangers and mash, Annie. I said, don't forget the bread. So it's like an in-house joke. Every single meal he would always have a piece of bread, and the butter would be to the sides of the butter to the bread like you would never imagine. I've never seen anyone butter bread the way that he butters bread. He's like, yep, of course, Annie, of course. And then, yeah, we both just said, that we loved each other. And I said to him, I'll talk to you soon. And he said, yep, of course you will. And so that was it. And since then, he has come to me in other meditations as well. But he hasn't actually said anything. He's just been there as a presence. And it's just been really beautiful to witness him being here. Anyway, so I was having a conversation with my grandma the other day, and we were chatting as well. Oh, if you could see me right now, I'm like I've got makeup everywhere. And anyway, as I was sitting at the dining table on the phone to my grandma, this huge butterfly kept floating in and out and around the window. I've never noticed it, and I often look out this window. It's often the space where I do a lot of my work, and this huge butterfly just kept like catching my eye, and I kept just thinking to myself, wow, that's a huge butterfly. Didn't say anything. And then I said to my nan, oh my gosh, there's this huge butterfly. We were on a video call. I said, there's this huge butterfly right now that is like flying around. And I had just finished telling her that I had been connecting with Pop in my meditations, and she didn't want to hear what had happened or anything like that. She said, I'm not ready to hear any of that, which is, I respect that. But we were talking about him. And so it was just this beautiful conversation that we were having. Anyway, so this butterfly is flying around. I said to her, I have to try and show you. And so I turned the camera around and I'm showing her outside the window. And do you think that I could get her to see the butterfly? It was not clear. It wasn't clear enough. So I said to her, hang on, let me go outside and let me see if I can show you from outside. So I head out through the spare room, out to the balcony, and I take the video camera and I'm showing her. And this butterfly is flying around. It's beautiful. I've never seen a butterfly like this. And you would not believe this butterfly comes and lands on the clothes horse and is just there for probably, I don't know how long. It was like, I would say maybe a minute. And it was really close. It was like, I don't know, less than a meter away from us. And it was just sitting there. And I just had the camera and I just was showing her, and we were both just sitting there in silence and just saying, wow, how beautiful this butterfly was. Like, it was just, it had beautiful wings and it was huge. And she's like, I can't believe that it's just sitting there. And I was like, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? And she's like, oh, I wonder what the meaning of butterflies is. And I was like, I don't know. But I felt like it was my pop's presence. And so I'm just going to get my phone because I actually Googled what this type of butterfly is. I've never seen this type of butterfly before. So I Google what the description of what the butterfly is, and the name comes up, and it's like whatever the name is, I can't pronounce whatever the name is, and then it also says is also known as another common name is a swallowtail butterfly. So I'm like, oh, okay, let's Google it and see what it says. You're not going to believe this. So when I Googled it, it says the swallowtail butterfly is believed to represent transformation and embodiment of souls who have crossed over to the spiritual realm. I was like, it was my pop. It was literally my grandfather in the butterfly form, like his presence was here. I'm going to get emotional again. And anyway, I sent it to my nan and said, hey, I looked up what this meaning of this butterfly is. And she said to me, oh, thank you so much for sharing that with me. That was really beautiful. You know, I was wondering if it was pop because of how still that butterfly chose to sit. Like, this butterfly was flying crazily across my window for the best part of an hour, I would say. I was on the phone to my nan for 3 hours. So for the best part of an hour. And then all of a sudden when I go outside, it stops and lands right in front of us. And we're both looking at it. And so I'm very confident to say that that was definitely, you know, my pop was there in on that conversation that we were having, and he was trying to get our attention. And yeah, we both just bawled our eyes out after I'd sent that through to her. So yeah, it's just amazing, the ability that we have as humans to be able to cross over to those loved ones that we once thought were gone, that can actually still be with us in this lifetime. And I know that that sounds really scary for a lot of people. I have a lot of people that are not willing to do this, to deepen this practice, and you know, they're scared about the things that can go on. And yes, it is, you do have to take it seriously. You do have to make sure that you have really pure intentions behind it, and that you set really beautiful intentions, because it can open up a lot of different things. But as long as you have pure intentions behind it, there's no reason why anything would be, you know, a negative experience for you. And so if you do have a loved one, you know, I really, and you're missing this loved one, they're with you. They are with you. Their presence is there. You know, I asked my pop in that first meditation, how will I remember? How will I know when you're around me? And he said, one of the signs is a white feather. And I was like, okay, a white feather it is. And, you know, a couple of days later, I was down at the beach, and this huge white feather actually washed up from the ocean and came up onto the shore. And I took a video of it, and I was like, he's here. Like, I know he's here. So it's so beautiful being able to do this. So I just really encourage you and invite you to be open to really deepening your spiritual practices, because you just don't know the wisdom and the knowledge and the love that can be poured from your ancestors that have passed over. And if you are a salon owner and you really want to deepen this part of your work, this is the work that we do in Evolve. And, really learning how to awaken your spirituality and tap into your intuition and have the ability to connect with loved ones as well. So it's just such a beautiful honor to share this journey with you and to walk this path with you, because I know that you've probably got ones that have passed over, loved ones that have passed over, or maybe you're worried about that day when that day does come. When a certain person does pass over, and it just means that their time is up here in this lifetime. That's it. It just means that this physical experience that you two have is no longer, and you still have the ability to be able to connect with them on the other side. So thank you for bearing with me as I got through that emotional episode. My very first connection with him was a month ago, nearly to the date. So it's taken me a while to actually record the actual episode, but even still, like a month later, I still pinch myself that I have this innate ability to be able to connect with loved ones and get the wisdom and hear what they've got to say, and know that they're here to support us every step of the way, just because they're not here in this earth realm. So like I said before, if you are interested in deepening this kind of practice for yourself, in the show notes you will see the application for Evolve. I highly encourage you to do that. I get so much wisdom from my ancestors in regards to my business, and it's not just about personal growth. It's really this beautiful self-discovery journey, Evolve, and how it really amplifies you as a woman and lets it ripple into your business as well. So thank you for being with me today on this beautiful episode and hearing my vulnerability and my heart, and know that I see you and I love each of you, and I will talk to you so soon. Bye for now.